So you gotta speak out. Don't let your chance to be heard pass by. Spell out. Let me hear you loud. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Wake up. No time for sleeping on the issues. This is Neutral Voices. We gon' deal with the issues.
What do you really want? What they want?
Welcome to Neutral Voices. This is I'm sorry, I got kind of flustered. I was trying to figure out what camera I was coming out of, but now we're in depth. See?
He froze.
I froze. I'm human a little bit, but this is Neutral Voices in depth, and tonight we're going to have a good conversation. It's a conversation we've had before, but we're going to take it to a different level. You know, it's we're talking about healing the community. We've talked about what it takes to have a healthy community. We know what's not there. We know what we need there. It's past time to talk about that. Now let's talk about why it's not there. Why are we not moving? We're going to look at some reasons and some issues that we really need to look at. What is holding us back from progressing? And I want to start out with this one. And we hear this a lot, and I'm going to agree with it, but I'm going to dispel some of the myths to it. Leadership. They say we don't have leadership in our community. Now, I'm going to say that's only true partially, because we have leadership. The problem is it's scattered everywhere. It's there. Everybody's doing their own thing. They're in their own corner. They're moving their own thing. Now, the problem is we don't have collaborative, focused, or driven leadership for our community.
Well, one of the biggest things, like you said it already, they scattered. And let's look at a whole body.
Mm-hmm.
A body can't move without the other part.
Correct.
My arm can't move without my shoulder.
Right.
So that's one of the key things that is missing in our community. Yeah, we do have a lot of leaders, hands down. But as far as moving together as a unit, there's no unit in the leadership. So if there's no unit in the leadership, how is there unity in the community?
Correct. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you there. Yeah. You got something, Jill?
Yeah, I want to back up to what you said. When you said it was a myth, because a lot of people do say we don't have any leadership in the community. So do we have leaders that lead?
Do we have
in your
leaders that
opinion,
lead?
do we have leaders that
Yes.
lead?
I'm going to answer that question, and then you can finish your next question. Do we have leaders that lead? Yes, but what are they leading to, and who are they leading? See, that's what I'm saying. And he said it, there's plenty of leaders. There's plenty of leaders, from political leaders to spiritual leaders to educational leaders, but they're in their lane, they're in their zone, and it's not bringing it together where there's a collaborative effort to move things forward.
Well, here's the other part about that. You said they're in their lane, they're in their zone. The funny part about it, are they leading to the same destination?
That's what I'm saying.
And majority of them are not leading to into the same destination that the community actually need. Now, if we lead, it's nothing wrong with you being in your lane, but as long as your lane leading to the same spot that really needs to be done that I'm doing, it can work. Because we all have different ideas, but when you get to a point where you can't sit in the same room,
there you go,
with that other leader that's trying to do the same thing,
right? Because
I got to be the chief. So
right.
It's too many chiefs.
So there has to be like a common, some kind of a
common ground.
Common ground, and when we talk about leadership, so here's what comes to mind right away, before we move from this one. Is we talk all the time about for example, LGBTQ plus community.
Right.
Okay. So they formed a movement.
Right.
And they moved.
Right.
They got from A to Z quickly.
Correct.
They got there quicker than almost any other community or organization that you can think of that has been working for 10, 20, 30, 40, hundreds of years.
Right.
So did they just have a wonderful leader? Or how are organizations like that? Because the community is a people. If the community is failing, the people in the community are also failing. So why do you say that we have leadership in place? Do we have the right leadership in place?
Great questions, and I'm gonna answer two of those. But I want to hold your LGBTQ in there because that was where we're going next. Now, E said something that is very prevalent. One is, what is our direction for our community?
Yeah.
Who sets our direction for our community?
Right.
Who has set out an outline, a plan to, and the problem is, again, just like we have scattered leaders, we have scattered plans.
Yeah.
Why can't we come together and find one destination or one? And here's the problem. The old proverb is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. But the problem is, we're trying to eat the whole in different areas. If we can take a bite and we can overcome this issue, we've already figured out one problem in our community. So let's get together. Let's figure out this one thing. Then let's move forward. But again, we got to get there. Are they competent leaders in their own respective field? Yes. In their own respective area? Yes. Not discrediting any of them, but the problem is, why can't you bring yours, I bring mine, we put it together, and we move it forward. But the problem is, because my thoughts, visions, whatever, as he said, we can't sit in a room together and have a conversation. So how are we going to make a plan together?
Right.
So my question is, well, it's not even a question. The thought process. Is it your vision, or is it a vision that God has gave you? So some people starts off with, God gave me this vision, gave me this thought process, gave me this area to go. Then it evolves from what God have given them to their own area and say, I did this.
Right. And
So when you move in that direction, and you really you can't understand how to move now, because now you remove the main situation, the main vision there,
Right.
and turned it into yours. So at some point, like you said, do we even have the same thought process as far as what we want to accomplish?
Right.
That's the biggest part of it.
And that's what we got to get. Now, Jill, you ask about the LGBT and all those other letters that come with it, because it's more, I want to give them, but I'm not going to skip some letters because I don't want them to cancel them, but there's some more letters to them.
Alphabet people.
But here's what I'm going to say. Their thing is, they have full participation in the community in which they are in. That's something we're lacking.
The lane that they're in, they have full participation.
Full participation.
I mean, you
in the
can't
lane.
say that, because it's a lot of people that don't that
Right.
is in that community that don't want nothing
Don't mess
to do.
with- but
Exactly.
in the lane that they're in and what they're doing, the movement, you said the movement, not the community. You said the movement. And I'm talking, just like not every black person supported Black Lives Matter.
For sure,
The
yeah.
movement. But the LGBT movement, the whole movement, those people got together and they worked together, no matter the color, no matter the sex, no matter the age, no matter the income, no matter anything. They got together and put in their minds together. If we move in this linear motion, we can get things done. And what? They got financial, they got political, they got everything done.
Right.
We're not doing that in our community as a whole. So we need community. Not only do we need committed leaders, we need committed community people to do the same thing, to help move the vision forward. I can have a great idea and I can be pushing it, but if I ain't got nobody pushing with me, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? What are we accomplishing?
Well, I mean, let's start right here. What does it takes to make a thriving community?
Thriving community.
Yeah. Give me the five is, I think it's 7 points.
5 or 7.
Yeah.
It's education. It's healthcare.
Economics.
Be it infrastructure, financial. It's commerce, which falls in there, and it's spirituality.
Okay. If we are lacking in all that in our community, right, which we are, and we know that's the problem, why are we not attacking one at a time?
That's what I said. We don't have to eat the whole elephant. Let's figure out what's the most pressing thing.
The most present thing is education to me. And that would be the other part, because I would say education, you would say health. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Versus saying, okay, what's bringing up the numbers and say, okay, what's more prevalent? And if you still saying health, okay, you build a health plan. I build an education plan. Now here's the catch with that. You got your crew that build the health plan. I got my crew to build the education plan. Now we bring the plans to the table and say, okay, what is the most common thing out of both our plans? And work like that.
Right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But again, not only do we can come up with these plans, and I'm not, like I said, we have leadership, but we established that the leadership need to come together, and there has to be some collaborative work. There has to be some figure out. But then there has to be, okay, who am I going to lead? So we need to get on that bus too.
Do you feel like Fort Wayne is a failing community?
As a whole?
Yes. Because
No.
you've lived here. Have you lived here your whole life? Most of your life?
Most of my, oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So is the community in any better spot than it was, say, 25, 30 years ago,
Depends on
in
where
your
you live.
opinion?
Depends on
where you live. Okay.
Yeah, because then I can say, look at DuPont. I remember when DuPont was nothing but cornfield.
It was cornfields, exactly.
Out
Auburn,
west,
all of that.
Out
Mhm.
west, I remember where once you got past Park West, Apple Glen wasn't there. Once you got Park West, there was nothing.
Right.
Then you came on the other side. I think Getz Road, and that's when they began to Coventry, and they began to build that up. Then that all went out there. Downtown, I remember when downtown was failing. It was so there are
Parts of town.
parts of town, and here's what happened: they had the people. They sat down with their leaders.
And told them what they want.
They told them what they want.
And
they sat down. They met. They figured out how to get. They didn't do all of it at one time.
Correct.
They sat down. They with their leaders. They met. They said, "Okay, we want this done. How do we get this done? We figure out how to get this done." That made it done.
But see, you know, if you think about that, say if we moved on this side of town the same way, it would thrive.
Right.
Versus, you know, and I'm not taking how you want it, but enjoy your night. We don't need any more low income housing and apartments.
I agree with that.
Me too.
And then on top of that, you know, we need to have more ownership. And I understand they're building the new houses out by Hardin and Tillman and stuff, but the inner spots,
Right.
we need to be homeowners versus renters.
Renters.
And stop letting other cultures come in and buy, and we are only buying from them because the simple fact that's who owns all the stores, the corner markets, the gas stations, and things of that such nature. Well, I mean, if we took pride into our community, like, you know, you got people that moved out the community and, you know, move way out, and they so happy, they take pride in staying out there. Now just imagine if you take half of them to take that same pride and bring it back to the
here.
south east side of town. Now we can move. Now we can say, no, you can't build that right there. We don't need that. Now you can say, hey, no, we don't need that. This is what we need. Now we got to put this person in charge and say, you need to do this or we put you out.
But that, and like you said, the community right now is not in the position because they need those things from other people
Exactly.
because it's not being done within the community. The reason I brought up the other areas, so DuPont, Southwest, Auburn Road, I mean, we can go on, New Haven even, all of the outskirts. So you cannot tell me that all of those areas just happen to have the most spectacular leader and the most spectacular people in the community that sit there and say, we're on board with this, let's go. There is absolutely no way that all of those surrounding communities are thriving. And they all have things that our community here, Southeast, none of those people exist here. Yeah. None of those leaders exist here.
And we're not saying that, and that's a great point. But here's also where it is. We don't have, as Eric talked about, there's one thing that we lack in our community, and that is the political push.
That's my point.
And the political push comes with finances.
Investments. Yes, exactly.
It comes with, we don't have, and that's where the infrastructure, and that's one of the things you say, finances, infrastructures, commerce, and E hit on all of that, where if we kept money in our community, and E like to talk about Greenwood, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street and everything like that. And another myth about that, I'm going to tell you something about Black Wall. No, I'm going to tell you about Black Wall Street. But if we could do that, they had banks, they had schools, they had hospitals, they had doctors' offices, they had all of that. They had all of this formation. They had all of their infrastructure in there. They even had a taxi service, a city bus line. They had all that they needed in that thing. But do you know, 7 years after Greenwood was destroyed, it was rebuilt? 7 years after it was destroyed, it was rebuilt. They don't tell that story. They don't tell that second part of the story.
I mean, I know that part. It didn't thrive because it didn't have the same.
It thrived for a long time, but it didn't have the luster of previous, but it still thrived. So this is what I'm saying. It can be broken down, but it can't be rebuilt. We need to start rebuilding. I remember in Fort Wayne, and it's going to tell my age, but do y'all remember Hang's Drugstore? Mm-hmm. Do y'all remember Bob's Fish Market? Do y'all remember Big Al's Burgers Place? Do y'all remember the Rib Cage? Do y'all remember Tall Man's? Do y'all remember Cool Radio? Do y'all remember any of that? Mm-mm. You don't, Jill. You won't hear. But here's what I'm saying. Where was this corridor? It was all on Pontiac Street.
It sure was.
Pontiac Street was a bustling black community, and we had everything we needed on Pontiac Street. The mall, Pontiac Mall came, everything. But you could walk one end of Pontiac to the other end of Pontiac. You got everything you got. There was a grocery store right there on Pontiac and Hannah. There was a drugstore across the street on Pontiac and Hannah. I mean, and you walked up Pontiac from Anthony to Hannah and even further down to Lafayette. Everything we need or had in our community, it was there. It was bustling. There was business. There was a shoe repair store. There was everything on Pontiac that we needed. So if it happened before, it can happen again. But we need to figure out and come together. The collaboration is one of the things that we need to focus on. It needs to stop being about me and be more about us. What can we do? How can we get here? Not the conversation, well, I'm out here trying to do this and I'm out here trying to do that. Well, why can't we get together and do something? Why can't we get together and figure it out? But with that, the political structure, you don't have a tax base, and we talked about this on our political show a couple of weeks ago. The theory is that all taxes, property taxes, go into one bucket. So it should be equally distributed, correct? That's how we think.
No, it's not.
Common sense would tell you that's how it should work.
Right.
Yes.
So where it goes is to what we find more valuable and more viable and how we're going to build it up. A lot of it went to downtown. A lot of it went to, this whole sewer system that they built because they're building more places to live downtown. They need, that hole under the ground that, one day we're going to be driving and it's going to be a sinkhole and we all going to sink in. Because nobody know where this hole is going through. They ain't tell us. They just said they're drilling a hole under the city. Did anybody get a map to where that hole is? Did anybody know where that hole is?
No, sir.
Man.
Okay, so we all driving one day and boom, we all fall. But I'm just saying, y'all didn't think about
Disclaimer. Disclaimer. We don't know where it's at. We have no idea.
But I'm just saying. So they put it in the money where it could be. Now, we're building the infrastructure out here. There's some sidewalks. There's some sewer systems. They're building up. But again, for the new homes and things. But then we're not getting in other communities. So what we need is, and as Eric say, take it as you want and have a good night. But our political people, we need to have more power in our politics, which means that we as a people, we got to take our power back. And I always say on our political show, we need to work our political equity. And with equity, that means that we have to have an investment in it.
Exactly.
So we need to get out. We need to work these politicians. We need to work the votes. We need to work the things. We need to be able to have our say. But too many of us are walking around the table and not sitting at the table.
But wouldn't you say, though, also that it's not just that the community can't work well together or refuses, whatever the reason is. It's also that certain communities, including Southeast community right here, not only has to go against their own community, but then they have to go against these people in power who want absolutely nothing for the southeast side of town. And let's just be real, because it is 2024, but the reality is there are still people in power or who influence power who do not want certain parts of the community to thrive, period. So it's not just about community engagement and leadership when you're also fighting against the same powerful people who are placing all of these investments every other place around where we are.
Well, hold on. Let me get that
Go
one.
ahead.
Let me hit you with this one. It's not the the political people. And I'm just finna be a whole honest with this. It's us. It have nothing to do with political. If we would stand together first and foremost, instead of having these small beefs or whatever with one another, now we can come to an understanding. So we have to sit at the table first with ourselves. That's key. Mm-hmm. Screw the political person, the preacher, and all these other people that supposed to be leaders. We have to lead ourselves to be able to sit at the table and be able to talk to one another, to be able to understand, okay, what we have to do to move forward.
Correct. And you took the words right out of my mouth. And Jill, you were talking. Yeah, too many times the powers that be, they're going to be there.
Yeah.
They're going to be there. But here's the thing. We can fix what we can fix. But we're not fixing what we can fix.
Right.
Correct.
Because it's staying in the ideation phase. It's not going from talk to build.
Right. So if we can fix what we can fix, let's fix what we can fix. Like E and I was talking like last night. We've been saying we need some kind of medical thing or a facility in our neighborhood, something that serves us.
Right.
It can be rebuilt. Remember Lafayette Medical Center? Mm-hmm. All black. Black doctors built that. Dr. Stovall and some other doctors. I know Dr. What is his name? He was Indian. He was African, and his wife was there for Dr. Adu. Dr. Adu. They were there for a long time. Gene Butler had a pharmacist there. A black pharmacist. He had a black pharmacy. Whole drugstore. Mm-hmm. Whole drugstore. They moved on. What happened? It haven't moved.
Right. Nothing
happened.
Came after.
Nothing came after. So that's what he said. Yep. How many doctors? There are hundreds and hundreds of black doctors in this city of Fort Wayne. Hundreds and hundreds. Anthony Medical Center, that building is sitting vacant right now. It was a medical center. Why can't we get black doctors to come together to put something on our side of the community? They build something there. Powers that be? Yeah, it could be. But Medicaid, pay the same. Insurance, pay the same. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna get the money.
Right.
The money is out there for you to go get. It's in our community, but why can't we keep it and build it in our community? Why can't we say? Why don't we have a pharmacy, a black-owned pharmacy? Why is it always CVS? Why is it always Walmart?
And they're shutting down left and right in the area.
They're shutting down left and right.
Right. But why can't there be another Eugene Butler, a black pharmacist? There's black pharmacists in town. Why can't we have them in our community? Everything we need is in our community. We don't have to go outside of our community to get anything. Everything we need is in our community.
But they've set up shop in other communities. People from this community have set up.
Right. So they need to come back. That's where it needs to start. We need to start reinvesting as people in our community. We need to make our community. Stores. Pontiac Mall used to be black-owned. Now I think Indians or Arabics or somebody of another nationality actually owns the mall. And the stores are like that. But if we brought our products, we did things. I don't know. I'm a little north of 40. I'm just going to say that. Just a little north of 40.
You're a little north
Just a little north. I'm a couple of miles north of 40. Let's just leave it like that.
Let's say about 15 miles.
Walking miles. That's what.
Country
walking
miles. Country miles.
I'm just a few miles north of 40. So that's how I can remember these things. Pontiac. And like I say, before Eugene Butler, Hanes was a drugstore. It sat on the corner of Pontiac and Hannah. So these things, we had them in our community. Why can't we bring them back to our community? Why can't we reinvest in our community? Why? And it's not always the powers that be or the outside. We got to take pride in us. We got to start loving us again. We got to start believing in us again. We got to start putting in us again and start working for us again and stop waiting for everybody else to say, okay, here it is, handout. Because if you keep waiting for a handout, it's never going to come. And as you say, Jill, if we build here, they have to come to us. They're going to recognize it.
Exactly.
Fill the dreams.
Exactly.
Fill the dream.
You build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And that's what
Instead of leaving, because right now nothing's being built, so people are leaving. I mean, people are pulling out, and nothing's ever being built to replace it.
Yeah. And It's a nice looking store. It's a good store. It has good products. But that store right on Pontiac Street, it's great that it's there.
Yeah.
But it's not of us. It's not of us. I remember Laray's. Do y'all remember Laray's?
Yes, I do.
Laray's was a grocery store. Jill, you like, what are all these places? You should have hung out in the hood back in the day. But Laray's, it was a grocery store on the corner of Buchanan and Hannah. Now I think the Urban League and Head Start.
Yeah. It's
Okay, I know where you're at.
Bright Point. They sit on that property right now.
Yes.
There was entertainment. There was a pool hall. There was Percy's pool hall. There was Williams Tap. There was other little places up on Oxford. Oxford was another one. You could go entertain. There were the Elks. There was Winter Garden. What I'm saying is, you had the entertainment. You had the nightlife. Everything we're saying we need in our community
was already here.
Yeah.
It was already here, but we let it go. Now I understand, we got to take some blame. We let our community down. There's some things we let take over our community that ran businesses and people out of our community.
Yeah, for sure.
So now we got to run those things back out of our community and bring our community back. I remember where we could walk up and down the street of Pontiac, Oxford, and all that till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night in the summer. Ain't a worry in the world.
Yeah.
Try that today.
It still ain't a worry in the world. I mean, it's just like I said. We need to start. We as a collective, everybody need to move as a collective and understand one thing: the one common goal, and that's how we can move a community. We got OMV is moving in that direction. One common goal. We got a collective of people. Now the thing about it, now we got another entity over here is trying to do the same thing. Hey, this is our goal right here. What y'all got going on? You know what I'm saying? So we have to reach out. We have to build a bridge. And once you build that bridge, now you can cross this bridge in so many different fashions, so many different ways, where they can't help but to say, okay, what they got going on over there?
Yeah.
Something ain't right. They're whispering. They're a little too quiet. Hey, them two ain't supposed to be working together. We need to find a way to put a riff in it. And then okay, you can't put a riff in because we ain't connected already. So once we connected, we can't be unconnected no more.
Right.
And that's one thing. And I always say, if we would have stayed in our own little corner, we would have been good. Literally, we would have been good if we would have stayed in our corner. Stop thinking the grass was green over here when we had the greener grass on our side.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, and on top of that, when somebody tries to come to destroy it or try to take it, fight for it.
Fight for it.
That's the biggest thing. Fight.
Stop rolling over.
Stop rolling over and say, okay. No, we got to fight.
And it don't have to be a physical fight.
I mean, it might have to break down to a physical
fight. It might have
fight.
to come down to a physical fight.
But at the end of the day, we have to fight. Once we get it and maintain it, and now somebody want to come and say, oh, no, we want to put, no, we don't need you. When we asked you, you didn't want it. Now that we got it by ourselves, don't come play with us.
Yeah. One of the things, and I want to get out of here before we get out of here, another thing is banks. Mm-hmm. There are 5,400 financial institutions throughout this country. 5,400. That's not change. That's not the branches. I'm talking about actual institutions. Right. 5,400. You know how many of them are black?
I had this number. I want to say it was at one point like 100 or something.
23. The top 10 billionaires in the country. And I know LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, Stephen Smith, and Stuart Mann. They were listed in top 10 billionaires in the country. Now, it takes anywhere between 10 million and 150 million to start a bank. Think about it. That if they took 1% of their wealth and invested it in a bank, and we all invested in that bank, we could change a whole financial future of the country. But the problem is, a lot of us get ours, and we tell our people to get yours like I got mine. Mm-hmm. We don't reach back anymore. We don't have that reach back. We got to get that reach back. We want to thank you. We could talk about this all night. Jill, before we close out, do y'all have anything else y'all want to input? I know y'all had notes, anything. Jill, you got time. We ain't got to close out right now. Speak your mind. We ain't gonna shut you down. Tell us what you want to speak about.
I mean, really, that's what I was just going to say is that I've been here in this part of the community for 5 years. I didn't grow up here, but I hear a lot of good things. But that seems to be where it stops. Yeah. So if you said it's been here before, it's not that it can't be built. It's getting from where we are now, because I consider myself a part of this community, where we are now to where we were. Like what you said, you could go anywhere. They had pharmacies, all that stuff. That is normal. Right. That seems like a normal thing to ask for.
Right.
So that's why I said all talk, no build. Not that nobody wants better, but it's so simple to sit and talk about things or to blame other people or, like we said, the power, whatever, just taking ownership. But at some point, there has to be a build.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what I see.
Yeah. Edie, you have anything? Now, I want to leave you with this. We've been talking about collaboration. We've been talking about working together. We've talked about making our community healthier. African proverb says, one spider can catch a fly, but a bunch of spiders can catch an elephant. Think about it. If we work together, we can build a web strong enough to catch an elephant. But the problem is, we're going for flies. It's time for us to look and try to get that elephant. And again, once we get it, we just got to eat it one bite at a time.
We're going to eat the elephant?
Eat the elephant. You got to make it work. We got to figure out what.
Agreed.
Take steps. Every journey starts with one step. So we got to get together. Let's figure this out, people. Let's stop saying what we can't do and what we won't do or what we're not doing and start doing it. Let's stop saying and start doing. We want to thank you for joining us this evening. And if you have any questions, concerns, or anything, leave us a message. We'll talk about anything. Before we leave the people, what do we always tell them?
Always protect your mind.
A podcast by Neutral Voices Media.
Your opinion's important, so you gotta speak out. Don't let your chance to be heard pass by. Spell out, let me hear you loud, proud. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Wake up. No time for sleeping on the issues. This is Neutral Voices. We gon' deal with the issues.